The acquisition has done more for me than just business. I met the love of my life, my fiance, Brianna Wendorf. That combination is priceless, right?
There you
Uh,
go.
so priceless. So, for me, I think I got the best deal out of everybody.
I'm Dave. This is Nick. This is the American Home Contractors podcast. And today we'll be discussing American Home Contractors acquisition, private equity, and Infinity Home Services. So I think it was back in 2015, we started looking at private equity entering home services, roofing, windows, those types of verticals. And we started becoming interested in what private equity was doing with certain companies they were acquiring. And at the time, these companies were really large, like $50+ million in revenue. So we reached out to a couple private equity companies that made these acquisitions and wanted to learn more about what was going on. And although they were willing to have the conversation, they weren't very interested in us at the time. I think we were doing probably around $10 million in revenue, and we were nowhere near as big as they needed us to be to have some serious conversations about acquisition. So we kind of kept our ear to the ground, checking out the trends. Window Nation was acquired. 1-800 Hanson's was acquired. There were acquisitions happening in the space, but again, they were very large companies. And then we started seeing a trend shift. That was around 2020, 2021 timeframe. We started seeing smaller companies being acquired by private equity. And leading up to that, private equity was consolidating the HVAC space. They were buying HVAC companies and forming conglomerates and bundling them up and selling them to larger private equity firms in that space. So I think it was 2020, we started getting emails and calls about monthly about looking to sell our business and, are you interested? Where are you? And then over the course of 2020, we started getting more calls, more emails, more messages reaching out to us asking if we were looking to sell our business. So it was funny. My partner Steve got an email from a guy named Paul, and it was like many other emails. Hey, what are you guys doing? Are you looking to sell your business? If you're interested, please reach out. We can make you a competitive offer. And Steve forwarded it to me. I sat on it for a few weeks, actually, not thinking anything of it because, again, we were getting these emails pretty routinely at that time. And I finally got around to contacting Paul, and I gave him a phone call. And Paul asked me a few questions over the phone. I answered them. High level questions like how much revenue are you doing? How profitable are you? What's your mix of residential versus commercial and retail versus insurance and those types of things. And I gave him all the answers and he said, wow, this sounds like you could be a great fit for this opportunity. And I thought, what else was he going to say? He was probably going to say that anyways. And he's like, let me get in touch with the CEO, Josh Sparks, and let me get in touch with the private equity firm North Branch, and at the time we were working with a guy named TJ, and we'll set up a follow-up call and we'll go from there. So I said, okay, that sounds great. I think maybe a couple days elapsed, and I think TJ reached out looking to set up a call, and that's when we set up a call with the partners of the business at the time. It was Steve, Tyler, Josh, myself. We set up a call with TJ, Josh Sparks, and the four of us just to have a high level conversation about what selling our business would look like. And at that point in time, we started to have the conversation a little bit more in depth about our business, financials, the mix of the different products that we sold. And after that conversation, we got to know Josh a little bit better. He's the CEO of Infinity Home Services. We got to know the private equity firm, North Branch Capital, and TJ Gall, who was one of the principals at the time there, who was leading the acquisitions of the roofing companies in this roll-up. And we submitted some financials. We signed some NDA paperwork, and no letter of intent was signed until months after that, actually, because we were debating if this was a good opportunity or not. And they presented us with an offer, financially. And we wanted to, make sure it was a good offer. So what we did was we reached out to some other private equity firms that were rolling up roofing companies in the industry. We actually reached out to IAC, who owns Angie, Home Advisor, Match.com, those companies, because they were in the process of rolling up roofing companies as well. And we had a conversation with them. We had a conversation with a couple other competing roll-ups. And we ultimately determined that Infinity Home Services was the best fit for us. It was a competitive offer with the others, but we really felt comfortable with Josh Sparks, TJ, the North Branch team, and we signed the letter of intent later in 2021, and that's when the fun really began. That was when we had to submit all sorts of documentation in a data room, HR, information payroll, org charts, all sorts of stuff. That was the due diligence phase. And it took about 6 months, but we were able to close the transaction on June 5th of 2022. And when we sold the business, it was a great point in time. We let everybody know, the employees. What went down was it was like most of these roll-ups, it's part cash, part roll-up equity. So it was 80% cash, 20% roll-up equity into the parent company, which was good. We kept some skin in the game to continue on. And we were told, be patient, be motivated to continue growing the business for the next 3 to 5 years, for the next role. We want you guys to stay motivated and hungry. We didn't realize it was going to take 5 months for us to roll.
November, December,
but conversations were happening in August, September timeframe, shortly after we were acquired. But things were really heating up, and the year 2021, 2022 was when the roll-ups in the roofing space really started happening quickly. We were the 5th acquisition in the Infinity Home Services brand. And by the time they acquired 9 companies, we rolled to 2 larger private equity firms, Light Bay Capital and Freeman Spogli. And that happened in December of 2022. So then moving forward in 2023 was when, we had some transitions that Nick got involved as well. Nick has equity in the business alongside some other key employees. And then we could talk about what it looked like as far as transition with Steve, my former business partner, stepping down from the brand president position, and Nick stepping into that position last July of 2023 or 2024. Sheesh, time flies. And then another partner of ours transitioned out as well. So there's been some transitions, but our company has really proven the model of what it looks like to grow organically and transition leadership from the old regime to the younger generation who's going to continue operating the business for the next 5, 10 plus years. That's the goal of all these brands that are acquired by private equity companies. Longevity, passing from one leadership to the next and growing their brand organically. And we grew, what did we grow over the course of 2022 to 2024, 2 years?
22 to 24, we doubled our revenue, more than doubled our revenue.
So that's I would think that's ideal. When you're a company that's acquired by private equity, if you can double your revenue in 2 short years, I think that's probably incredible. But yeah, we were able to accomplish that and transitioning our former brand president into Nick as the new brand president for 2025. It's been a hell of a ride, and we're here to share our experience and answer any questions you guys have as it relates to private equity, our transaction, and what it's like to continue growing the brand and transition leadership.
And I think, an important thing to note is you build an incredible brand, right? You spend decades or years building a great brand, and what do you do with it after 39, 40 years in business? What are the next steps? And I think that's a question a lot of business owners have, whether it's in roofing, HVAC, so on and so forth. But what do you do, and how do you take care of the employees that have been working with you or for you for many years? And that's why this has really helped take us to the next level and open opportunity, the doors of opportunity to so many people in our company. And we went from a 15 or $16 million business in revenue to last year just doing about 33 million in completed jobs, and that's due to being able to keep and motivate tons of talent. We get tons of support financially, on the marketing side, with systems and processes, data driven decision making. Um, and that type of support is really critical and continue the growth of a business. So we have a team that is all headed in the right direction. Um, and a lot of that's due to the acquisition and the added resources that we have. We went through a rebrand. I think we had, what was it? The logo that we had was from 1999, 2001.
Yeah, it was an old school logo. Old school American flag resonated with a lot of people, but this is the new logo back here,
Yeah.
which looks more modern and reflects what we do with the solar panels on top of the roof, resembling a solar roof, right?
Yeah.
It's part
I
of the
mean,
logo.
I feel like we've had some key milestones since acquisition, right? We did rebrand. We've cycled in and cycled out some key people in the company, some that are on the tail end of their career,
Hmm.
ready to enjoy some of those years, and others just getting into roofing and having an incredible place to learn, to grow. We've adjusted our organization and how we're built. We started a solar division in 2019. You know,
Hmm.
and having the financial backing to really help accelerate that has been awesome. We went from no solar installations. We started at your house, right?
Hmm.
With
That was the
solar.
first one. Yeah.
First one, that was the Decotech days.
Yeah, that was in 2019. December of 2019 was our first solar install.
Yeah.
So essentially in 2019, solar revenue was zero.
Zilch.
0% of the business. And what was last year?
52% of our business was some form of solar.
Solar and energy.
We've been able to bring an electrical team in-house. Our main focus being, Tesla Solar Roof. We become the number one CI in the country, um, and hope to maintain that. But yeah, these are some like huge milestones we've been able to hit as a company with great people, but the backing of IHS has made it all possible. And I think my experience here at AHC, there's always been unlimited opportunity. And one of the reasons why I love this business is there's unlimited opportunity. You get out what you put in, especially this company. And it's been many years in the making where I had the pleasure of working with Dave, with Steve, with Tyler, with Josh, the original owners of the business. Um, I was able to get a bunch of their time. I think I pestered them to the ends of the earth to to get time after hours and to really learn at a high level and gain a deep understanding of every part of the business, whether it was the installation, whether it was the back end office, the accounting, the sales process, all the above. So transitioning in, when I started at the business in 2018, I came on board because my best buddy was in roofing. He was helping start the Virginia location, and he's like, "You got to work at this company. You got to work at this company." And at the time, I was a carpenter. Um, Working on custom homes. We did like 3 or 4 houses a year, and I was like, I enjoy what I'm doing. I like working with my hands. I like building cabinets. I like framing. I really enjoyed that at the time, and so I kind of pushed him off. And 6 months later, I decided, okay, maybe this is something worth exploring. And I came in, I met with Steve, and he gave me a shot, and we said, let's do this. And I came on board on the production team as like a production assistant, and just dove in head first, and asked these guys for as much of their time as possible. Went out and did repairs on the weekends. Ran with our tune-up techs. Went out and ran with our installation crews. Did every manufacturer certification possible. The whole 9 yards.
You learned the business.
Yeah.
Got a great understanding of what the business looks like, the ins and outs. And the guy who's referring to is Double D.
Double D. Yeah, Double
Daniel
D.
Diaz.
He was here up until 2019, and then decided to move in a different direction. And he just came back this past week. Super exciting. He's back on board, back on the team. But yeah, things kind of come full circle. But came on board in the production department, kind of quickly moved up there, learned fast, had great mentors, great teachers in the business. And I just kept wanting more, and they gave it to me in terms of opportunity, and started running the operations of the business between all of our locations. I'm an operator, I think.
Yeah, you're definitely an operator.
Not a sales guy, but I'm an operator. But I will do some
No,
sales.
you can sell too. Yeah, you definitely sell.
A man of a few talents, I guess. But these are all things that I had the opportunity to dip my toe in and see what I like to do best. And we had this awesome opportunity where Dave went to the IRE, and I think we had talked about Tesla Solar, and he went up to the booth, and it was there. It was a real thing. It was a tangible thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he signed us up to be a certified installer.
Yeah, right there in 2020, right before COVID lockdowns.
Pre-COVID, right before we went in, uh, I think went on like a hiatus, right? 6 months or 4 months where you never heard back.
Yeah, we signed the paperwork. I think it was February 2020. We signed up with Tesla at their booth at the IRE. Some back and forth, and everything went into lockdown in March. So it wasn't until about June of 2020 where things started coming back online. Tesla started sending out emails again to certified installers asking if they were still interested. If so, please submit, some more information, which we did, which was great. But, you did need to make a large investment to become certified with Tesla. And especially at the time, they were doing remote training, and you had to do a home training kit at your actual office or warehouse instead of going out in person to do on the job training with them. So that was, presented a challenge for us because we had to build a mock roof in our warehouse.
It was actually right here where we're sitting.
It's actually, yeah,
This
right where
was
we are.
the,
This used
this
to
used to
be.
be the mock roof.
This used to be the mock roof. But then we had to do exercises, film the exercises, send them to Tesla. We didn't know what we were doing. The materials came in pallets. We didn't know what they were. Went through the online courses, which were fine, right? Doing stuff online is, fairly straightforward, but actually getting the product, touching it, putting it together was really challenging. It was the third version of the solar roof product, which there were hundreds of pieces and components, so we didn't know what was what or where things went. So it was really challenging, but we got through it. And then we had to secure 3 projects in order for us to become certified. And Tesla was going to send out a trainer, on-the-job trainer, Cody Shaka. Shout out to him. The first job was a coworker of my good friend Paul's. It was the Warren project right by the office. And my good buddy Paul signed up as well. And then I was the third roof after both of those were installed. So those were our first 3 projects that helped us through the certification process. And then the rest is history after that. Just kept going with it. So
Solar was just that was like the next step, I think, in learning something new, grabbing a bull by the horns, having that startup within a mature business, because we didn't know what we were doing. At first we were learning.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was so much fun. But yeah, doing that on the weekends, every Saturday and Sunday, we'd come in here, put the roof together, take it apart, put it together, take it apart, and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of accelerated our journey to where we are today. But I think you guys sat me down one day and were like, "Hey, I think it makes sense for you to work with the solar stuff and try and figure it out." I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Sure, let's do it," and we got down to business and tried to figure it out, and figured out the what was difficult, what the actual hard parts of the process were, because at first you would think it's the install, hundreds of parts, and this is a new product, and there's electrical with roofing, and it wasn't that. It's the paperwork. It's always the paperwork. the interconnection and the permitting and whatnot. But we figured
Mm-hmm.
that out and built out a team. And
Mm-hmm.
um, after acquisition, we were able to bring electrical in house, and here we are today. So that was a big part of the journey, and really building out the skills necessary to lead multiple teams, bring on new products, figure things out while keeping the rest of the business running as optimally as you can. And having, I'm notorious for trying to have my hands in too many pots, but can't help it. So I think we just kind of headed down this road where I think Steve was at the point where he's ready to take the next step in his career, um, and there's an opportunity available to continue moving up in the business. We're very growth focused, growth oriented here, and that's kind of how we got to the next steps of moving into the brand president role. He took plenty of time to help train and groom and pass on um, the many years of knowledge and wisdom that he's got, and try and keep things as you know as as least disruptive as possible. And we were able to do that and had the best year over year ever in company history. I think we did 27 million in revenue in 2023, or okay, 16 in 22, 27 and 23, and then this past year we did 33, just under 33 million in completed jobs. So continuing that
Mm-hmm.
trajectory, and it's been a great ride. So interestingly enough, our mission today is to install peace of mind, and that's been the mission of American Home Contractors since 1986. So IHS, they have a mission, vision, and set of core values that we live by here at the business. Our vision is to save our communities from unscrupulous contractors. Every day when we wake up and we're coming to work, like our goal, our path forward is to make sure that we're taking care of our customers with outstanding workmanship, a great customer experience, fair pricing, transparent pricing, and just giving them the best all around experience possible. Um, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to get the best companies, together in a group, and to be able to share best practices and be a part of that. And that's just so exciting. So at AHC, we live by that vision, by the IHS vision. Our mission, what we do every day, is install peace of mind for our customers, and we do it with integrity, with hard work, and exceptional service. I say exceptional service. I like that better, but it doesn't fit in the acronym. But that's just how we operate, and we've always operated that way. But at the best practices meeting in 2023, we got in a room in Vegas with the 13 brands, right? I believe it was 13 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first best practices I went to. You had one, it was a smaller one the year prior. And it was just great to collaborate with people, from Oregon, from the Midwest, from near us in New Jersey, High Point Roofing, and we were able to get in this room and we put together as a collective group our mission, vision, and set of core values and non-negotiables, and put pen to paper, and as a group came up with those. And it's just been great, and it's easy for me to sit here and preach about it and to breathe that to life in our team, because that's just how we operate, you know. And we were part of bringing that to life at the central level, and then down here at the brand.
So I think the biggest key benefit of joining Infinity Home Services is you're joining a group of great businesses that are all aligned with that mission and vision that Nick was speaking about. Saving our communities from unscrupulous contractors is the mission statement. And I think every brand that's part of Infinity Home Services exemplifies that mission statement. And they're just really good people. So you're joining the best of the best in the industry when you join Infinity Home Services. So you have, best practices that can be shared amongst those brands. So everyone's doing things the right way. Everyone can constantly improve year over year. You also have a lot of support and resources at Central, which is IHS Corporate. You have finance, you have marketing, you have HR resources. Like Nick mentioned, in order for us to grow and double our revenues like we did, it took a lot of capital support from corporate to help us pre-purchase materials and have the financial stability to tackle some large initiatives like Tesla Solar Roof and other cool, new, exciting products. Bringing electrical in-house took a lot of capital expenditures and investments. So that was great with the help of corporate. And then also like a roadmap of how to grow your brand organically and then also develop new leadership inside of your company. So that's been, the biggest reasons for joining Infinity Home Services and the benefits we've received as being part of the great group.
So, at first, I think with any change, employees get a little nervous or tense, and I was actually one of them. I knew before a little bit before acquisition, kind of what was going on because I've always been under the. I've always been telling Steve and Dave. I tell them I'm going to buy this place one day, or I'm gonna open a location, that type of thing. It's always been top of mind, so I'd always been pushing that. So first I was like, oh man, what's going to happen to my opportunity? That was my, initial thought, first thought. But then, coming to the reality, like, oh, this is a good thing. Because, we only knew what was in our bubble. And, getting to learn from other incredibly talented brands, Infinity Exteriors did what, like 60 million last year?
Yeah, they're incredible.
Incredible brands, incredible operators, and we've been able to learn from a lot of the processes and things that they do. So tying back to the question, like, yeah, at first, people are a little nervous. What does this mean? What's the change? And there was like a whole lot of nothing. Nothing really changed. Business is operated as normal. Or improved. If anything, everything has improved, but like day to day interactions, there's been no forced change on our business. We operate as American Home Contractors, just with the resources behind to continue scaling what we're already doing. Um, I think I love that saying, "Don't mess with success." And there's a reason why we were acquired. It's because they saw what we were doing, our reputation, how we work with our customers, how we treat the employees. And there's a reason why they went through the diligence process and said, we want to buy you guys, and came to that mutual understanding. So there's always that nerve-wracking experience of getting that information across at first, but it's really something that's exciting. And it's opened the door of opportunity for everybody that was here before and all the new employees coming back on board. Like I said, Double D's back. He went back to work with the guy that taught him roofing originally, and unfortunately he passed away. And he felt like life was getting monotonous. He was seeing what we were doing over here at AHC, and he said, "I want back in." We're like, we'd be happy to have you. Love to have you back. So yeah, there's always that there was like that short period of time where there was like uncertainty, and when everybody looked around, it was like, oh, nothing's really different besides the good stuff. Yeah.
Well, I think it's important for all parties to do their due diligence and research and make sure they know what they're getting into. I think by now there's been enough talk about private equity from manufacturer conferences and just, podcasts, interviews, that type of stuff. So I think a lot of people understand that getting involved with private equity is looking for returns on capital. So they're looking for performance. So it's not something where you can just sell your business, walk away, and expect it to be a great outcome. You need to go into it and be motivated to continue being involved with your business and looking forward to growing your business with the help and support of that private equity capital partner that you're joining. One of the biggest fears people have is what's going to happen to my people, and I guess for some private equity roll-ups, that is a real fear and it's a concern. That's why I say you should do your research and understand who you're partnering with, because there have been situations where companies have chosen to sell their business to another roll-up, and that roll-up comes in and fires some key management, puts in their own people, and makes a ton of changes to that business. Harvard MBAs start running the operations and it becomes very systemized, very corporate, and that's not what we're about. So we like to run our business autonomously. And, as long as the numbers are good, you'll have that flexibility. But it's like anything, it's an investment and you need return on that investment. So if the numbers start to slip, that's when corporate could intervene and make sure they right the ship, but justifiably so. I mean, we have roll-up equity in the overall parent company, so we want that type of behavior to exist with all of the brands. We want all of the brands that we're part of to be held accountable because that's our long-term investment in Infinity Home Services. If one of the brands starts suffering, we want intervention. We want them to be good. We want them to intervene and make sure that they right the ship. The red numbers turn to green and everything goes forward, up and up. So we appreciate that. So I guess that's like, to alleviate the largest concern is just do your research, make sure who you're partnering with, your goals are aligned with them. And if you join Infinity Home Services, just know that the expectation is for you to typically stay on board, continue growing your business, and hopefully you have key people at your company who can transition into key leadership roles moving forward to, survive you transitioning out one day. And then that way, new leadership has the opportunity and continued growth inside of your organization long term.
Pick the right partner.
I think the future is bright. I think I see Infinity Home Services continuing to make good acquisitions, good companies, good brands across the country. Um, Strong revenues, strong profitability. And I look forward to meeting new brand presidents and new team members of those brands and working together with them. I'm sure you look forward to working with other marketing directors across the platform and, just continuing to level up and learn more about what other companies are doing out there. Because whenever whenever Infinity Home Services makes an acquisition in a different market, every market is different. And it's interesting to learn about that business and the nuance that, makes for success in that particular given market. The DC metro market is very different than the Pacific Northwest, which is very different than the Midwest, which is very different than the Southeast. They're all different markets. Everyone needs to operate differently. So it's just really interesting to get to know people. And that's what I'm really excited about, just continuing to expand and being introduced to new opportunities and new people along the way.
Oh, yeah. With 26 brands now, we were the fifth acquisition. We're at 26 now, two years later. It's been great, getting to meet these other brand leaders, their people. We went to that best practices, right? I think it was like 50 people in the room. A few weeks ago, we had our leadership summit. That's what they changed the name to, and there was over 100 people in that room.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely talented, best in the business, and we only expect that to continue to grow. We even had Adam Fidel there who had just been acquired that morning,
I
the
think
day
it was,
before.
yeah, it was very recent.
It was
Mm-hmm.
like super recent. Came on board, and we've already connected with him. We're in neighboring markets and sharing best practices, and they'll be down here next week to meet up with our team, and that's what it's all about, right? We're all on the same ship, headed in the same direction, trying to lift each other up, and continue doing better. So you have like that internal like competition in a way by region. We're broken up into regions, and which really helps with the difference in each market, and share those best practices that help them find success. One thing a lot of people ask about is the tune-up program that you developed, and it's just been it's been great. So I think that moving forward, what we're most excited about is just the continued growth of IHS, additional brands, growing the brand here at American Home Contractors, continue to grow our team. I think solar is super exciting. Solar roofing specifically is extremely exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It's now in distribution.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that accelerate is awesome. That's what gets me up every day is our team. It's what we're doing, the customers that we serve, it's just what gets me going in the morning. What was it the other day? I put a review in there. We had a customer that was just so enthralled with the tune-up. They had a long-standing leak. Nobody could figure it out. For that 199 service, we took care of that
Mm-hmm.
immediate issue, and they're like, "You have made an AHC customer for life, Mike G."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Shout out
Mike
Mike
G.
G. But yeah, I'd say those are some things we're excited about, and I think this will change. We'll have this podcast in 6 months, and I'll give you a different answer, but always about the direction we're going in. The acquisition has done more for me than just business. I met the love of my life, my fiance, Brianna Wendorf, and it was interesting. When we got acquired, there were a couple things that were like, hey, we're probably going to have to make these transitions. Not everything will stay the same, and one of them at the time was our CRM. We had built our own CRM in Monday.com, which wasn't, that was a project management tool at the time. Now they have a CRM that you
Mm-hmm.
can custom build, but we were actually able to make it work. So we were pretty proud of that. So that was, at first I was like a little resistant. I was like, I don't know, because you're prideful. You're like, I
Mm-hmm.
built that. But uh, that was one of the things that we, had meetings about the CRM, and um, she had actually built a better CRM through Zoho, and she was in charge of the product delivery, and in charge of like kind of the technology at the time. She was the second employee of IHS. There was Josh and then Brianna. Um, and she was working with myself and some of the production team at our
It was love at
age.
first sight. I saw it.
Ah, you got me. But yeah, I mean, he did. Dave and Steve did call it. It was pretty funny because they met Brianna in person before I'd ever met her virtually or anything. And like, oh, I can, this girl, you and this girl are meant to be. I said, how could you know that? Blah blah blah. But then I met her, and it was really like love at first sight. We were just on the same page, and I just admired the way that she worked, and um, her personality, her infectious personality. She'd make anybody laugh and make a room light up, and yeah, it's just like one of those things you see out of a movie, right? Like, how could this happen for me? And here we are, 2 years later, we're engaged. We just picked our wedding venue and whatnot, and her and our daughter Macy um, moved in here in Maryland. She came across the country from Wisconsin, which was a huge undertaking, and we built her. How we said the roof was here. On the other side of this wall is her office that we built out, and that was also the space for the tools. That was where the break was, where we were bending everything. But now it's we've been able to make it some office space, and yeah, she's got a spot here now, and not only having been able to continue moving up in the company, leading our team, um, getting equity in the business, and helping grow a few different arms of AHC. I've also found the love of my life, and that combination is priceless, right?
There you go.
So priceless. So for me, I think I got the best deal out of everybody on the platform.
You got an amazing deal, Nick.
Yeah, that was a sweetheart deal, as you would say, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, eternally thankful, and been supported by the brands ever since.
Mm-hmm. They are the darlings.
Yeah,
IHS darlings.
yeah, and she's the director of product delivery for the central team, delivering technology across the U.S. and Canada, and she does a phenomenal job at it, I may say. And yeah, so it's been fantastic to be a part of this platform. Just tons of great people, lifelong friends. We're gonna have like a roofing wedding. I was like wondering, are we gonna have like sponsor like
You'll have
it's like when we were at the
vendor suppliers.
yeah,
sponsors.
we do a yearly trip now with IHS, which I look forward to. Our team looks forward to every year. It's funny because there's different like different times during the trip where it's like, happy hour sponsored by Owens Corning. It's like, okay, we've got the ceremony sponsored by American Home Contractors. But no, in all seriousness, it's just that it's just been great. We have a supportive group of people that have been part of our journey as a couple, but also just through the business. So.
And with that, I think we should break into the Tesla Mezcal.
Is this like
and have a celebratory shot?
Yeah,
To the future of IHS.
This is the Tesla Mezcal. We're going to start a new segment here at the end or beginning of each podcast.
Probably the end.
Yeah,
unless
end.
we want it to get interesting.
Yeah, I want to
really
have
interesting.
like a celebratory Mezcal. Or maybe do like a little halvesy.
There we go.
Yeah, I think it's, Oh, it's the wrong direction.
Oh, I got you.
Yep. There we go. Maybe pop this guy back. No, that way. Yep. Cool. It's all about the aesthetic. You've got one of the tequilas, right?
I do. Yeah, we had a video of that. We got 10 of these, and we're giving them to special customers this year.
Special customers this year. If you would like to taste the Tesla Mezcal, you can either purchase a Tesla solar roof or be a guest on the pod. So take your pick.
There you go. And you can't buy it on the shop page anymore, I don't think.
Can't buy it on the shop page anymore. So this is a limited supply. But yeah, cheers.
Cheers to IHS, AHC, and beyond.
It's fantastic.